This truck, it's like it's vanished.
Yeah.
Very little information out there. But there's something there. That connection to the 9000 series, the whole evolution of cabovers,
Yeah.
that's our starting point.
Exactly. Okay, so let's break this down. We know the 9800 Eagle was part of the International 9000 series, those iconic cabovers, engine under the cab. Why were those so popular, especially back in the day?
Okay, so picture this. It's the 80s. Trucking regulations, they're all about maximizing cargo space, but with strict length limits. That's where your cabovers or COEs come in.
Right.
You put the driver right over the engine, bam, you're squeezing out every inch for cargo. Like tiny house design. It's all about efficiency.
Okay, so for regions where every inch of trailer space meant more goods delivered, a cabover like the 9800, that was the way to go. But what makes the Eagle stand out? Your notes mentioned it might be a trim package. What does that even mean in the trucking world?
Think of it this way. You buy a new car, you've got your base model, right? But then you can jazz it up. Leather seats, a sunroof, maybe a fancy sound system. In trucking, a trim package, it often meant specific features, upgrades, stuff geared towards certain jobs or just what the driver liked. So this International 9800 Eagle might have been a souped-up 9800, something special for a certain type of trucker maybe?
That makes total sense. Now, your Wikipedia deep dive, it takes us through 5 generations of the International 9000 COE. We've got the first generation, the CO9600, CO9670, hitting the scene 81 to 88. What were the hallmarks of this era, and how do they connect back to the 9800 Eagle we're trying to, decode?
Big changes back then. International Harvester, the company behind these trucks, they were becoming Navistar. The CO9670, that one, wider cab, larger windows, and that trapezoidal grille, the one. It marked a real shift in design. It was all about the driver.
Yeah.
Comfort, visibility, they were key. And under the hood, they loved those Cummins N-Series diesels.
So we're already seeing that focus on the driver experience, even in these early models. Makes you wonder, did the 9800 Eagle, even a decade later, maybe inherit some of that? Like focusing on features that just made life on the road a little bit easier,
Solid theory. Now let's jump ahead to the second generation. The 97.6, 9800, 9800, 1988 to 1998. Fuel efficiency, that was the name of the game. Sleek lines, redesigned bumpers, all about minimizing drag. The game changer. Setback front axle.
Setback axle. Okay, for those of us who, aren't exactly gearheads, can you break that down?
Sure. Okay, imagine a traditional truck. The front axle is right under the front of the engine, yeah. With the setback axle, it's positioned a bit further back. Small change, huge impact on the cab.
How so? Did it affect the 9800 Eagle in any way?
This is where it gets interesting, especially for the 9800. See, that setback axle, it allowed for a flat floor in the cab.
Okay.
Which, back then, for a cabber, revolutionary. Especially with space already limited, no more climbing over a hump in the middle of the cab. Navistar was ahead of the curve on that one.
Wow, a flat floor in a cabover back in the 80s. That's wild. Makes you wonder if the Eagle package, if it even existed back then, did it take that whole comfort thing even further? Maybe like premium seats, extra insulation, or even like early climate control upgrades.
You're spot on. Think about it, drivers, especially long haul. Their cab was their home away from home, right? Any comfort upgrade. Huge selling point.
Right.
Now, we're still speculating here about this Eagle, but these were the things truckers wanted.
So we've got this cab forward design, a focus on aerodynamics, and then boom, setback axle for driver comfort. The International 9800 sounds like it was a pretty big deal. But then, according to your Wikipedia notes here, both the 9700 and the 9800, they got discontinued in North America after 98. What happened? Did truckers just suddenly stop loving cabovers?
Not quite. Remember those length restrictions we talked about?
Right.
Well, late 90s, they started to ease up in North America. Suddenly, conventional trucks, they're looking more appealing to a lot of companies. But here's where the 9800 takes a turn. It kept going.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Just not in North America.
Oh, this is getting good. It's like the 9800 went on like a world tour.
Exactly. Production moved down to Brazil, became the 9800i. New square grille. A little more modern look for a truck finding new life in new markets. Tells you a lot about how the whole industry was going global. Just because the design doesn't work one place doesn't mean it just, poof, disappears. It might be perfect somewhere else.
Okay, so even if we don't have all the details on the North American 9800 Eagle, it's like global adventures. Those could hold some clues. Maybe the Eagle was specifically for those international markets, different needs, different wants, right?
Definitely possible. Think about it. Different terrain, different rules, different expectations for the drivers. Even that name, Eagle, it says something, right? Power, capability, even a bit of, ruggedness. Maybe the 9800 Eagle. It was the truck for like those tough routes in South America, Australia even, parts of Africa, who knows?
No, that's a picture, right? Okay, but the 9800i story, it didn't end there. Redesigned in 2008, specifically for New Zealand, bumped up the horsepower to, wait for it, 615. What was driving those changes?
That's where you see innovation and regulations kind of like battling it out. This 4th gen 9800i, the New Zealand one. Raised cab, new cooling, even the inside got an upgrade. Driver comfort, ergonomics, they were still king.
Yeah.
But that power jump, that smells like emission standards to me. Euro 4 and 5. Big deal globally right around then.
So it wasn't just about more muscle, it had to be cleaner too. That's not just a tweak here and there, right? We're talking serious engineering.
Absolutely. Cleaner burning engine, but you can't sacrifice performance. That means fancy tech exhaust, gas whatchamacallit, diesel particulate filters. They even gave the New Zealand 9800i another facelift a few years later, sleeker, more refined, still meeting those ever stricter emissions rules.